YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with score predictions and picks against the spread for every single NFL game every single week. Expect this video on Wednesdays throughout the year, but let's jump into my week one picks. Kicking things off, the Cowboys plus 7.5 in Philadelphia taking on the Eagles. I do have the Eagles winning this one 27-17. If you're new here, it's how the graphics work. Away team, their line at the home team. Here's a recap what I did last year. Check out our Twitter for more NFL and college football bets. We have week one content on the channel and more to come. But I have the Eagles taking care of business this one. Covering the spread, it is a pretty large spread for week one, though, so I'm not sitting here saying you'll throw your money at the minus 7.5, even though I do have them winning by 10. But, man, the matchup favors the Eagles on top of the circumstances to open up the season after winning the Super Bowl. Crazy crowd. I mean, that's tough for the Dallas Cowboys without Micah Parsons. The matchup favors the Eagles because they're so good running the football, and the Cowboys consistently cannot stop the run. Now, they could be better adding Kenny Clark. How much of a factor, if any, will he be right away? Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, they're going to tear it up on the ground. I feel like the Eagles will have success through the air as well. You know, you worry about the Cowboys defense kind of getting it together. They add Eberflus as their defensive coordinator. Him and the Bears couldn't really stop the run either, so the Eagles could win just pounding the football here. Now, I do think the Cowboys can come out firing to start this game because the Eagles, great defense, but their one weakness, maybe one of the corner spots opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. So the focus could be on CeeDee Lamb, where Pickens can get some attention from the Cowboys and he can actually do some damage. So the Cowboys offense could get going early, but I think Vic Fangio and the defense will figure it out here. The Eagles, again, they'll win this game, controlling the clock on the ground. So got them taking care of business. I'm not necessarily saying to bet the 7.5, but something you can bet. We'll lock in our final picks on our Twitter like we do for every primetime game. But maybe the Eagles minus 3.5, still decent odds, and I feel pretty good about that spread. You can drop it down even more to be a little more conservative, but pair it with the touchdown. Saquon or Hurts, I'll let you do the work, you know, on which one you like a little better. But I will say I like both to score in the game. What sides with Saquon, running backs tear up the Cowboys defense. Running backs tore up Eberflus's defense last year. Cowboys are still weak in that category, but Saquon didn't score on the Cowboys last year. Hurts did a lot of the scoring, and you know, first game, it's got to be a tush book push. We got to talk about it forever, you know, live on the air. That seems to be a thing. So I could see both those guys scoring, but there you have it for the first game. In Brazil on Friday Night Football, I have the Chiefs winning 26-20 against the Chargers. A game I honestly could see going either way, especially in week one. I'm going to side with the Chiefs, though, even though I think Harbaugh will have the Chargers prepared in his career as an NFL head coach. He's done pretty good in openers, and Justin Herbert's actually done pretty well as an underdog, so something to watch for. But remember last year when the Packers and the Eagles played at this, you know, in Brazil on the sloppy field, players didn't really seem to be used to it. The Chiefs, if I had to pick one team to be best prepared for a grass field and maybe with some interesting conditions, you know, being used to playing on their home field and some sloppy conditions in the playoffs, I mean, the Chiefs may be the best team playing on grass in the NFL. So there's a little bonus that sides with the Chiefs. I liked how Mahomes looked in that last preseason game too. I mean, he's going to come out, you know, playing his best possible ball. But the Chargers' rushing attack could be a factor. You know, if teams are struggling with the grass, you know, maybe the better rushing attack wins this game. But I'm going to trust the Chiefs in this one. Two well-coached teams. We'll side with the Chiefs 26-20, but it's not really one I would bet on. Weird things happen in week one. Then you factor in Brazil. You got two really good teams where either team is very capable of winning. So we'll see. NFC East battle. The Giants are plus 6.5 going to DC, taking on the Commanders. And at first glance, it's like, Commanders are so much better. They're at home. Such an explosive offense. They're going to dominate the Giants, right? It's definitely possible, but I don't know. Every year there's those random week one games that surprise, and I had a feeling this could be one of them. I'm still going to pick the Commanders because they are the much better team. They're at home. It's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with Jaden Daniels and that offense right away. But I feel like the Giants could compete in this one for multiple reasons. They might be a little bit more of a tougher game plan because it's different what's in there with the Giants. They changed quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, he seemed to be a tough game plan for teams early on. He was doing pretty well early on last year with the Steelers. It's going to make this offense better. You have to deal with Malik Neighbors, who could potentially be an elite player already. They have a collection of running backs. The Commanders, one thing they really struggle at is stopping the run, and I don't know if that's going to change too much from last year based on what they've done. So the Giants come out here, pound the football, and get Neighbors involved underneath. Quick passing game. high tempo. I could see that, and they can cause some problems. Expect a lot of running clock. The Giants also struggled to stop the run last year. The Commanders should come out running the football. And the Giants' defensive line potentially could be elite. So they could be a potential upset team here. But I think the Commanders still handle business, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. But also another factor, they played each other obviously twice last year, and both those games ended up being kind of a fight, right? A little closer than everyone thought. So maybe that's just the thing with these two teams, with these same two coaching staffs. This division battle just kind of stays close. I could see it. There is a scenario where the Commanders whoop their ass. There's a scenario where the Giants pull off an upset and shock everyone, but it always happens, throughout week one. And, there's going to be at least a few upsets, but not one I would necessarily bet on. But I have the Commanders winning 24-20. Bucks at Falcons. I have Tampa winning 27-23. These matchups are always so fun, especially recently. They could come down to the wire. There could be a lot of explosive offense, but I'm feeling pretty good about the Bucks in week one, even though it's in ATL. Anything can happen in week one, so the Falcons surely have a shot to win this game, but multiple reasons I like the Bucks. I mean, I love their roster from top to bottom. So many weapons in the running game and the passing game could be an issue. The Falcons defense should be better with their additions with Jeff Ulbrich as a defensive coordinator and their additions throughout the draft especially. But it can't all come together right away. So that Buccaneers explosive offense should be able to take care of business here. And the Bucks typically stop the run very well. Doesn't mean they're going to shut down Bijan, but I don't think they're going to let any running back just completely torch them. I do think the Falcons will have success through the air. Drake London usually has success against Tampa, but here's a couple problems here. The Falcons didn't play their starters in preseason. It's that Rams coaching tree. They just don't believe in it. And Michael Penix barely played last year. I think he's going to be awesome. He has some serious potential, but all these guys got to knock off some rust, and he's got to get going more, so that's tough going this one against a tough opponent. And Caleb McGarry is going to be out, and the Falcons' depth at the tackle position isn't great, right? And the Buccaneers made that pass rush group a little bit better this year. So because of the rust, the lack, being able to kind of, not playing preseason and get back into things, the Buccaneers maybe having the better roster and matching up pretty well. I like Tampa in this one. Just so many weapons for them. So I'd be willing to bet the Buccaneers -2.5. Week one could be a little crazy sometimes. So maybe you want to be a little more conservative. You can use the Bucks as money line or flip it, make it +2.5 in a parlay. Those are options as well. But sitting here in week one, I like the matchup for Tampa. This could be a good one right here. Potentially one of my favorite matchups, believe it or not, on the week, because we're going to learn a lot from this one. The Panthers +3 in Jacksonville taking on the Jags. Going to be piping hot out there. I do have the Jags winning 26-20, but it's a game, again, we're going to learn a lot about. It could go either way, so I'm excited for it. Interesting. Panthers, dead last in rush defense last year. Just brutal. Jags, dead last in pass defense. Just brutal in that category. Which team is going to figure it out? We know both these teams probably around the same tier, if you will, in the NFL, both trending upward. That could potentially be sneaky teams this year. So who figures it out here in week one? I think we're going to learn a lot about the Panthers specifically in week one. Typically, it's not a thing for teams. You don't learn a ton in week one about teams because weird things happen. Teams are just getting going. But again, the Panthers having the worst run defense last year, they really got to step it up. But Derek Brown comes back. They add Wharton at defensive tackle. Trevon Merrick, also a good run defender, even though he's a safety. So how much can they step it up here? They traded Adam Thielen, who maybe wasn't going to be their best receiver this year, but he was their best receiver last year. They're going to be missing him in this game. They're going against the number 32 pass defense from last year, so I know Coker's banged up. There's going to be a little bit of adjustment for him trying to play the slot over Thielen, but these receivers need to perform against the number 32 pass defense in this game. If they don't, it's going to be like, okay, they missed Adam Thielen big time. They need to help Bryce Young out, so we'll learn where their receivers are at without Thielen in this game, going against a weaker pass defense. Also, Bryce Young, the start of the season the last 2 years, him and the Panthers have not been good. It's been bad, but Bryce Young figured it out down the stretch last year, so we're going to learn, did he actually figure it out? Can he get over that hump early in the season? So we're going to figure a lot of things out here. I'm going to go with the Jags. Being home in that heat's a big factor here. I think those potential star receivers will be, a factor. Typically, you can run the Panthers as well, but the Panthers could miss Thielen a little bit in this one, but they should perform going against that pass defense. I'll take Jacksonville 26-20, but this should be a fun one. Dolphins at Colts, another one of those 50-50 games that can go either way. I'll take Miami 24-20 in this one. I was back and forth, but it's tough because the Dolphins, you hear a lot of negative things out of camp. Not looking good, players fighting with teammates fighting with teammates, the whole Tyreek Hill situation. They're a little banged up at running back, but it sounds like Achane will go, Tyreek Hill will go. Does Tyreek Hill have the connection with Tua off the field? I don't know, but why wouldn't it be there on the field, right? They're going to make those explosive plays. I think people are sleeping on the Dolphins defense a little bit. When healthy, they have a legit pass rush. They don't even have to be fully healthy for it. They have a legit pass rush, and they added Kenneth Grant there on the interior as long as he plays as a dominant run stuffer. So I think those guys can get after Daniel Jones. It's going to be a weird game. I think we're going to have spurts of a lot of offense where Jones is, I think Jones to Tyler Warren's going to be a factor. Taylor could break off some runs, obviously, and then you have the Dolphins being freaky explosive on offense, Tua to Tyreek Hill down the field, Achane. We'll have moments like that, but then we'll have moments of just defense. The Dolphins pass rush getting after the Colts. The Colts are much better coached on defense going forward here at Lou Anarumo. And again, with the Dolphins, both these teams don't typically start super well, especially the Colts, but over-under is 47.5. I like the under in that one. I think we'll have moments of offense, but it'll kind of slow down a little bit. I'm going to trust the Dolphins pass rush to get after Daniel Jones, even though Jones will make plays, and then the Dolphins offense led by Tua will make that extra explosive play. But I am monitoring some injuries for Miami in this one, but I will take them 24-20. Raiders are plus 2.5 at New England taking on the Patriots. I like the Raiders in this one, 23-19. It's funny because I saw this on the schedule, a while back, and I'm like, I'm taking the Patriots. And even up until last week, I'm like, I'm taking the Patriots in that one. They're going to turn the page, but the Raiders pick has grown on me, more and more here for multiple reasons. It is in New England, it's week 1. The Patriots could be better when it's all said and done, but the Raiders adding Geno and Genti in there, that's tough for teams. I mean, any week, but especially early in the year, like what do we expect? How do we game plan for that? Geno could hit Bowers and the other receivers and be explosive at any time, but we have to worry about Genti being a problem. And I know the Patriots defense should be pretty good. It should be a top 10 defense, but right now I'm wondering here, Christian Gonzalez, their star corner, probably going to be out. Hasn't practiced in a while. They moved Duggar down to second string defense, so it's like, all right, they like their other safeties. Then they cut Jabril Peppers, so what's going on at safety? Carlton Davis is going to have to carry the secondary. The defense still could be good, but dealing with Geno, Bowers, Genti right away could be a little tough here. And then I think Will Campbell's going to be great, but Max Crosby, the best player on the field in this game, coming at him. So, and I think Drake May is going to be great, but it's not going to be perfect right away. The Raiders on paper, the defense looks pretty bad, especially at corner, but Patrick Graham's a good defensive coach. They have Max Crosby out there, so we'll see. I think both teams are going to try to run it. A lot of running clock in this one. It's Pete Carroll versus Mike Vrabel. They're going to establish the run and look to who can control the clock a little bit better. Something else I've noticed, Vrabel had some elite regular season teams with the Tennessee Titans. I want to clarify regular season teams, but elite in the regular season. They would actually struggle right away. They would get upset by different teams right away. So we'll see if that's a factor here, but I think just dealing with Geno, Genti, Bowers right away without Christian Gonzalez in a safety situation could be the keys for the Raiders here and Max Crosby. So 23-19 Vegas, a lot of running clock. Good teaser option. The Raiders plus 2.5 is kind of growing on me. I like a little bit better at 3.5, but if you want to put together a teaser or a parlay, man, you can bump the Raiders up like a 6-point teaser swing there, put them at plus 8.5. They could lose this game. But I don't see it. I think it's going to be a close game. If someone's going to beat someone's ass, I would imagine, I don't think it's going to happen. I'd imagine the Raiders do that in their favor. But Raiders pick growing on me here, but it's one of those close to 50-50 games. Steelers, Jets. This is going to be a good one here. Revenge game for Aaron Rodgers versus Aaron Glenn. Justin Fields revenge game. Going to be a lot of fun. Two more so defensive teams like to establish the run as well. I like Pittsburgh in this one. Again, anything can happen in week 1, but this could be my favorite spread on the week. -2.5. It's going to stay somewhat close. Defensive game. A lot of running the football, a lot of running clock, but two things I know about the Steelers, their defense is going to be good, and it typically starts really, really well. They're going against Justin Fields. Don't really trust him as a passer too much, especially early in the year, so the Steelers will cause him some problems. Now, the Jets could run Fields a lot. That's a pain in the ass to deal with the running quarterbacks early on in the season, and with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, they could be a factor there, and they could win the game because of that. But I'm going to trust the Steelers' defense. I'm going to trust their coaching experience. They'll be ready. And Aaron Rodgers, I know he's declined, but I don't know. Something about revenge game for Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's going to do something. Him and DK Metcalf, watch out for Rowan Wilson. Watch out for the tight ends they got. Running backs, the depth chart looks a little weird right now. I think Caleb Johnson's going to play a little bit more than people think, but they have weapons there. I like Pittsburgh, mainly because of their defense, but Rodgers in the revenge game, winning 23-16. Give me Pitt in this one. Bengals, Browns, here we go. The Bengals always lose in week 1. Last year, they lost to the Patriots, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm never picking them week 1 again. And here we are. I'm picking the Bengals. Now, if they lose this one, I mean it this time. I'm never picking the Bengals week 1 again. But this is why I stay away from this one, because the Bengals are significantly better than the Browns. But weird things happen in week 1, and they do always lose in week 1. But they played their starters a bit in preseason to try to avoid the early rough patch. Will that work? Maybe, maybe not. They're playing the Browns. The Bengals offense looked explosive when they played in preseason. There should be no rust. I know they're going against Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, etc. There shouldn't be any rust. They should have success on offense, enough success here. I know the defense looks bad. It looked really bad in preseason. The Browns could run the ball, control the clock, but Al Golden's a good defense. That's a sneaky hire for Al Golden. Now, Trent Hendrickson back in the mix. They might play a little better than people think. The Bengals should handle, but just not enough explosiveness on offense for the Browns in this one for me. But if they start with the ball and just pound the ball, drain so much clock, get some points, even if it's a field goal, keep Joe Burrow and company on the sideline, then the rust might come out again, like preseason didn't exist. So that'd be the key for the Browns. But I'll take the Bengals winning 27-20. I wouldn't bet on it just for everything I just said, basically. Cardinals favored by 6.5 going to New Orleans to take on the Saints. I like the Cardinals winning this one 27-17. Now, there's no guarantee in week 1 anything can happen, but this feels pretty good for the Cardinals here. I know the Saints, it's a little scary maybe because the Saints started super hot last year. They looked like one of the best teams in football, ended up being kind of a mirage, but I don't know. They're so much different now. I think they're different for the better in terms of the offensive coaching staff, at least the head coach, Kellen Moore. But they're so different. I don't think just because of last year they'll start super hot. The matchup favors the Cardinals, who are also the better team. James Conner matches up very well. He should do some damage on the ground. And then Kyler Murray throwing to those stars, McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. The Saints aren't as good at corner as they typically are. We're used to them being loaded at corner. It's the first time in a while. You know, they got all these veterans got to adjust to a non-Dennis Allen defense. It's been, even when he wasn't the head coach, it's been his defense for so long. I like the Cardinals defense. One of the more underrated things in football. Jonathan Gannon really good at preparing a defense. Going against Spencer Rattler, who could be better than people think, but it's a tough ask here in this one. So I do like Arizona 27-17. They should cover the 6.5, but it's a big spread early on. I like using Arizona -2.5, or if you want to be a little more conservative here in week 1, money line in a parlay. It's a pretty good option. I think we'll have a good old-fashioned NFC West tight game here. Niners beating the Seahawks 24-23 is my prediction, but this was the toughest one on the week to predict for me because I could see it going either way. The Niners are a little banged up right now, especially at receiver, but they got McCaffrey, but they got all their star players healthy right now. They're a very, very good football team when they're healthy. Also, since the Niners have had Purdy going to Seattle, they've never lost. They typically, for some reason, play very well there, so that can continue to carry over, and they can win because of that. They can cover the spread because of that. But part of me, Seattle, really solid defense. The Niners are a little banged up. Clint Kubiak coming to town to be the offense coordinator. The offense looked really smooth in preseason with the first and second string. They should be able to run the ball effectively. And Kubiak was with the Saints early last year, and that offense was very tough to game plan for, very tough to stop for teams early in the year. Remember, the Saints were one of the best teams. The Seahawks could be that team. I think they'll kind of come back down to earth if that's the case. But my point is I could see them starting hot. So part of me is like, I got to predict them if I can see that. But the Niners do good in Seattle, recently, and their star players are out there. It's a really good team, really well-coached team. So could see it going either way. I'll take the Niners by 1 in this one. Wouldn't bet it with that line, but the Seahawks are a pretty good teaser option. We've talked about other ones in this video, plus 8.5. This game's going to be close either way. I don't see an ass beating either way. If there was one, maybe the Niners do the ass beating. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be a close one. Should be a lot of fun. Again, I could see Seattle starting well. I'm going to go with the Niners. The Titans and their young team, their young quarterback, have to go to Mile High to take on a very good team in the Denver Broncos. Tough draw for the Tennessee Titans. Tough matchup. I got the Broncos winning 24-13. I think the Titans offense could be a lot more explosive than people think this year. This is just a tough ask. I think Cam Ward played better than people thought in preseason. I think he's going to play better than people think, but it's a tough ask going 2 mile high in that altitude, playing against one of the better defenses in football, a very well coached team, a complete roster. It's tough. So I got them scoring 13. I think the Titans defense could do some things here and there. They got some studs up front. Obviously, Snead's expect to play, so they can get back on track there. But yeah, the Broncos offense could stall out at times, but they'll be prepared in this game. Their defense is going to win this one. So I like them 24-13. Maybe it ends up being a little closer because the Broncos offense can't fully get it together. It's definitely possible. But, man, again, I'm preaching, don't have any takeaways or questions off week one. Just get out of there with the win. Weird things happen. But not just because of the much better team, Denver, but just the circumstances. The Titans' young team, Cam Ward, they're not fully rebuilt yet. They got to go to Mile High, play that defense. If the Broncos lose this one, I got some questions. I actually have some questions. This is one they absolutely have to win. They should, and I'd imagine they take care of business. The line's pretty big, but you could definitely use that Broncos, -2.5, or if you want to be a little more conservative, money line in a parlay. It's a really good option, again, if you want to put together a parlay. Lions at Packers. We got a pair of NFC North games that I think will be tight, good ball games here, but the Lions are underdogs. I'm going to take the Packers, but I've been back and forth on this one since the schedule came out. Lions switching coordinators. We'll see. Do they have to adjust with life without those guys? More so Ben Johnson. That could be the case here. Or does it make them a tougher game plan because you don't really know fully what to expect, and they have some talented players. They also are without Aleem McNeil, their best interior player. They do have other options that can play, but they're not as good stopping the run. They're typically elite stopping the run if they're fully healthy. Without Aleem McNeil, they're really not close to elite, even though they could still be good. And Josh Jacobs could be able to run pretty effectively. I do think Gibbs and Montgomery could run pretty effectively, but Josh Jacobs, going against the Lions here, and you do have to worry about the passing game with the Green Bay Packers, and they improve their offense line specifically for run blocking, adding Aaron Banks, and they add Micah Parsons, obviously a star pass rusher. Is he going to be 100%? He's going to play, I'd imagine, but is he going to be 100% snaps? No, but he could still make a factor here, even though he's got a tough matchup against a good offensive line here in Detroit. But I'll take Green Bay at home, taking care of business, but the trends say maybe the Lions. They're typically good early in the year under Dan Campbell, and they've been beating the Packers under Dan Campbell, so that could be the case again. I think just adjusting without those coordinators, but we'll take Green Bay 26-24. I think we'll see some big explosive plays. This one, excited about Matthew Golden for the Green Bay Packers up in that receiver room, which they badly need. Excited about DJ Reed addition for the Detroit Lions. We'll see. But, yeah, in terms of betting, this game's going to stay close. And the Lions are already underdogs. We've talked about some teaser or parlay options. The Lions, I don't see a world where they get their ass kicked in this one. If you bump that up to +8.5 like we've done with some other games, it's a pretty good option here in week one. A 50-50 game could go either way. Texans at Rams. This is going to be a defensive game. First off, you got two good defenses. I think the Texans could be the best defense in football, the best pass rush in football, Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter, and they're going against a banged-up Matt Stafford. That could be the difference in this one. And the Rams, that young defense, really stepped up last year, really solid pass rush. They made the interior defensive line better at Poona Ford. They're going against maybe the worst offensive line in football. Also, the Texans don't have Joe Mixon. So everything is pointing towards this being a defensive ball game, so I do like the under at 43.5. I'll take the Rams this one. Like I said, you could argue either side. CJ Stroud's weapons at the receiver position are a little bit better. They have maybe the best defensive football going after a banged up Matthew Stafford, but the Rams, are pretty damn loaded. They had Devontae Adams to the mix, and they're going against a rougher offensive line there. It's not an ideal offensive line, especially because Cam Robinson was injured, throughout the, preseason process. They wanted him to start at left tackle, but a rookie's in there, and Titus Howard's got to go back to tackle from guard. So a little bit tricky, and the Rams will handle business in this one, and the under should hit 23-17 LA. But whoever's defense makes that big time play, or we could say whatever offense makes that one big play, could win this game. Sunday night football, the Ravens at the Bills, a heavyweight matchup, a potential AFC championship caliber matchup here, a rematch from that playoff game. I'm going to go with the Ravens this time around. It is tough. It's week one in Buffalo, primetime Sunday night. It's one of the tougher places to play. That crowd's going to be nuts. So just because of that, and just because the Bills are one of the best teams in football, and they just beat the Ravens, they could win. But The matchup sides with the Ravens, it always has, even before that, even with that playoff game. They typically run the ball very, very well against anybody, but especially the Bills, and they control the clock. Both teams have an elite offense. Both teams have a very good defense. I like the Ravens' defense a little bit more. They're also out for revenge, even with all the mistakes. Even with that game, the matchup favored them. They just made so many mistakes, and they were still in that game. So I like the Ravens getting revenge. I like their defense a little bit better. I like the way they match up with Derrick Henry having a big game here. But Bills, of course, could win. But I like that since the Ravens are underdogs, I wish the money line pick was positive odds here. It's not, but if you put it at -1.5, it's +108. That's something to think about there. But if you're a little worried, to open up the year Sunday night in Buffalo, that could scare some people away. But it's gonna be a fun one. Again, another one of those ones that could go either way. Monday Night Football, the Vikings at Soldier Field taking on the Bears, who should be much improved from last year. Wouldn't bet on this one. Weird things happen in these types of games. There's going to be some funky stuff. I bet that happens. But here's a recap of every game I took against the spread. I'm not saying bet on all those. It's just a recap of all my picks against the spread. I'll take the Vikings this one, 23-19. Before the Thielen edition, I was like, ooh, is Jefferson's got to kind of carry this group, and Naylor's a little banged up. But adding Thielen, who could step in there and know the offense, play right away. He's got experience against Chicago as well, playing at that field. That helped them a bit, and it sounds like Naylor's going to be good to go. Again, a game that can go either way. It's going to be tough for Minnesota to go in that environment, crazy crowd. Tough game plan because everything's new for the Chicago Bears. Both sides of the ball, they really improved that offensive line. They have pretty good weapons. And the Vikings typically kind of choke in prime time. It wasn't just a Kirk Cousins thing. It kind of seemed to be a Vikings thing as well, if you've been watching the Vikings, for a long time. So they could definitely blow it. I love the way Minnesota ran the ball on the Bears last year. Now, the Bears' run defense could be a little bit better, but that was a key factor. And the Vikings went out and got Jordan Mason, a more physical runner, to pair with Aaron Jones. They have J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. They're a little banged up at receiver. Everyone's used to Kevin O'Connell just spreading those receivers out, let them go downfield. They could possibly come out and pound the shit out of this football, and we'll see if the Bears stop them or not. They do have Andrew Billings back. He was out for the second half of last year. We'll see, but it's kind of dependent. My Vikings pick is me thinking they're going to run the ball more than Kevin O'Connell has, but if he doesn't do that, they might lose. But I can see the Bears coming out hot right away with a new, fast, high-tempo offense, and then Brian Flores' defense kind of adjusting to it. Sounds like Jalen Johnson will play. That would be rough if he wasn't the star corner of the Bears. I'll take the Vikings, a little better team here. Should run the ball effectively. Brian Flores defense, but the Bears definitely could pull off the upset at home with that crazy crowd on Monday Night Football. 23-19 Minnesota is what I got. Again, there's the recap of all my spread picks. Next video, my favorite locks, picks against the spread, different types of parlays, bets, you name it. We got you covered. We have some shorts rolling out soon as well. A bunch of week one content on the channel already. More to come. We'll have you covered. Very important to follow us on X at GoDustNFL. Link pin in the comments for that. Patreon, our Picks League. If you want to join our Picks League to play along with our weekly Pick'em show, join that. Links pinned in the comments. Gonna do it. We'll see you guys, I was gonna say next week, but every single day. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.